Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on Happy RC Flyer here on YouTube. Today we have the E-flite Conscendo Evo 1.5m. This is basically a powered sailplane. As you'll see by the windsock behind me, it's a little breezy today. It's a typical summer day, and this morning started off by being really nice and cool and calm air. As the day progressed, it got pretty hot, it got kind of muggy, and the wind picked up. And the wind will pick up a little bit, and then it'll die off, and it'll be breezing from one direction, and then you'll get a gust from the other direction. It'll be down the runway 1 minute, and then crosswinds the next. And there were quite a number of folks there this morning that were flying, and it was a great morning to fly. But everybody left and went home, and it's one of those days that could be a miserable day to fly. But all that depends on what kind of aircraft you have. And so I thought it would be a great day to showcase what I like about the E-flite Conscendo and how it's a budget-friendly, windy day flyer. So if you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. Most of my viewers are not subscribed, and by subscribing that helps grow the channel. And if you turn on video notifications or upload notifications when you subscribe, if you hit the bell icon, that will notify you when I upload more videos in the future. We'll have some more videos about this aircraft. Today we'll be covering the assembly, the configuration and setup, as well as the maiden flight, if we can get it all squeezed in there without making the video too long. And then we'll have future videos on this aircraft. I've got some ideas for modifications, and I don't want to give away all the secrets, but you'll want to subscribe to see future videos of this aircraft and some little tips and tricks and modifications of this to make it even more enjoyable. I always encourage people to have a windy day flyer in your hangar. You might be into scale aircraft, you might be into large aircraft, you might be into different size, whatever it might be. You might have a specialty, some sort of favorite line that you like, and there's nothing wrong with that. The hobby is very versatile, and it's all about having fun, so whatever makes it fun for you is cool. But I do encourage people to have a windy day flyer, because a lot of times there is windy weather, and if you have to have a nice calm day to fly, there will be a lot of days where you miss out on flying. And you might have some free time, and you might say, hey, I'd like to go relax and throw a plane or a helicopter up in the air, maybe a drone or something, but it's just not a good day for that. So it's important to have a plane that maybe is not your favorite one, maybe it doesn't look the best, it doesn't look the most scale, and maybe it's not the fastest or the easiest to fly, but something that does fly good in the wind. And you'll see that I've shot videos on the FMS 3-meter Fox, the big roughly 10-foot wingspan foam motor powered sailplane, and that flies really good in the wind. You've seen the 2-meter Optera. A lot of guys have seen that. That was a video that a lot of people liked, and that one flies really good in the wind as well. And this is another one. So you've seen some flight footage of this. I had one in the past. I missed it and purchased another one, and here we are. So anyway, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button at the end if you liked the video. Drop a comment or a question, maybe an idea that you might have for a future modification of this aircraft. I always like interacting with you guys and hearing your thoughts and answering some questions. And I don't have all the answers, but sometimes it prompts me to go and find some answers, or listen in for other people to comment with answers as well. So, and then share the video with a friend that you think might enjoy it. That helps grow the channel and helps grow the hobby. This is an unsponsored channel, meaning I don't make any money on the videos that I post here or from YouTube. I don't make any money on the aircrafts. Nobody gives these to me. I just buy these with my own hard-earned money, just like any other hobbyist would. And if you like that unsponsored, unbiased perspective on things, you'll want to subscribe and hang out, because we got a lot of cool stuff coming, and a number of videos that we've uploaded already. So anyway, here we are. Without any further ado, we'll get the camera adjusted so you can get a little bit better view about what we have going on here. We're going to be testing it on the 3S pack and the 4S pack. This plane has a lot of speed on the 4S pack, and so you'll want to check that out, as we'll demonstrate here before too long. Maybe we'll get to do a speed test today. We'll see. But 3S, 4S, 2200 is a pretty sweet spot to fly it on. I think they recommend 1300 to 2200, somewhere around in there. And I like to fly it on the 4S. It fits in there kind of tight, but it definitely will make it cruise along. So it's a nice, sleek design. Flies really well. Really like how it handles in the wind. It's a good color scheme. I feel like it's pretty easy to see. Okay, hopefully you'll be able to see everything a little bit closer. And just to point out a couple things real quick, we're going to be setting it up on the Spectrum NX10 today, but you can set this up on any Spectrum radio. It doesn't even have to be Spectrum. I've mentioned before that I am tinkering around in my freestyle quads with the Radio Master. I think it's the TS16 I think it's the TS16S, and that is a really cool radio. I like it because it's open source. I'm running Edge TX with a touch screen, so it's pretty cool, and it has the multi-protocol, so I can actually bind it up to this one. But for the sake of setup and ease of the video, I already had a profile in this radio, so we'll be using this NX10 today. In the future, I might switch over to Radio Master, and I might just abandon Spectrum altogether, but I'm not sure. I'm not quite there yet. But I do still have a lot of models set up in my NX10 radio, so we'll be using that today. Have some other tools here that you'll need to make sure that you have on hand. Of course, your battery packs, if you're going to fly it and test it and configure it, you want to have some charged up packs. I have the 3S and 4S 2200 Spectrum batteries. These are the G2s that I already had on hand. I have mentioned in some other videos some pros and cons of the G2 packs and some issues they had with those, so if you have questions about them, you can drop a comment or a question in the comment section, or check out one of my other videos. Got some glue here because the horizontal stabilizer or the elevator has to be glued in. I thought it was a couple screws, but found out that it's actually glue, so we'll be gluing that in. Be kind of nice to have it on screws, but we'll glue that in, and I'll be using some foam safe CA glue, just the Super Gold Plus, and you can use any kind of glue. You could use foam tack, you could use hot glue, some other, a little more budget glues. But if you do use CA, make sure it's foam safe, because you'll be gluing the foam to the plastic. And then I have some accelerator here, a little spray of accelerator, because I like to have it ready to go, ready to fly here pretty quick. I did bring some other little tools here. You'll see the little screwdriver. I grabbed this little teeny turner, which we've seen videos on that before. I originally grabbed the little stubby Phillips, because I was thinking that the stubby Phillips would go here in the hole to screw in the screws, but then I realized that this wing saddle is what goes in those screw holes, and so the screwdriver has to fit inside the wing saddle holes, and so there's a little bit of a column there where a little stubby is not going to be able to reach it. The teeny turner actually doesn't reach it either, unfortunately, so the teeny turner is not good for everything, but we do have some other screwdrivers here, longer stem Phillips screwdrivers that'll do the job. So anyway, let's get started. And this is pretty easy. It's just basic assembly. Let me go over your parts that you should have real quick. If you get a plane, whether you buy it new or used, if it's not already assembled, you want to make sure you have all your parts together. And if you do get it assembled, there's some things that, or if you buy it already assembled, used, there'll be some things that you'll want to look out for. Sometimes you'll buy a plane that somebody put together and they've never actually flown it. And so sometimes you'll have the elevator installed or the main wing installed, and they've forgot to put the carbon spar in it, or your carbon rod for your support for your main wing or for your elevator or rudder, whatever it might be. So do your due diligence, especially when you get a new plane, even if you've seen it fly. If you're going to fly it, you should do a good pre-flight inspection. Maybe that's an idea for another video in the future. But you're going to have your left and your right wing, or right and left, however we got the order mixed up there. You're going to have your right and left horizontal stabilizer, your elevators. You'll have the wing saddle. You'll have this small carbon rod, which is for the horizontal stabilizer. This little shorty is about 5 or 6 inches long carbon rod. You'll have this other one that's about 1.5 feet, and this is going to be for the main wing. So you'll have 2 carbon rods, a little teeny one for the main wing, a little bit bigger one for the horizontal stab. Then you'll have a bag of screws. Now, it's kind of cool. I like it whenever they go above and beyond. It doesn't happen very often by manufacturers, but they actually put an extra screw in there in case you lose one. So that's really cool. You should have 4 screws at least. You'll need 4 screws to assemble the wing saddle, to assemble the wings and clamp the saddle down that holds the wings on. But they actually put 5 in here in this little Ziploc sack. So I think that's pretty cool. It doesn't come with a rubber band, but I like to put a rubber band on here, and yellow is appropriate for the color scheme. But that just keeps the props folded. The props and the spinner already do come assembled out of the box, so I like that. You don't have to mess around with that. I like flying them just stock as they are, but I have some friends that know some people at their airfield. They've had issues with these plastic props and the plastic spinners, so I do believe that there's a aluminum upgrade for that. I haven't personally done it myself, but they really like it and said that they've had some to spin apart when using 4-cell. So if you use 4-cell on this, I personally haven't had any problems with it, but other people have. And so without taking too much time, we'll put the main wings out of the way. We'll flip this around. We're going to go ahead and assemble this first. We'll put the horizontal stabilizer on. This is pretty easy. You'll see it's got just a little channel that it clips into, so it's really hard to mess that up. And then we're going to put the carbon rod in there. Don't forget that part. That's the most important part of this step. A little bit of foam in there, but it should push in to the halfway point. And then before you put it up in there, I always recommend, because it has a little piece of foam, I always recommend dry fitting it before you're trying to get it actually on the plane. So if you're trying to get it on the plane and you're pushing on it and it doesn't seem like it's wanting to go, you need to know if your angle is incorrect, putting it through the plane fuselage, or maybe it's just needs the little channel cleaned out, because sometimes that's the case with the foam mold. So then we're going to dry fit it in here real quick. We're going to be ready to put our CA glue on here pretty soon. I'm going to use the little grooves in this picnic table to be able to help hold up the fuselage, but it would work nice if I had an airplane stand with me, but I don't. So there's that. It looks like everything is fitting in there real fine. Like, you want to make sure that there's no gap in there, that it's fitting nice and firm. And that way, once you glue it on, we're going to move our controller out of the way, our transmitter. That way, we don't have to worry about getting any glue on that. All right. We have a little bit of wind gusting up here once in a while, so before we got ready to film, we had some issues with the wind blowing things around. So I'm going to put a little bit on the back. You don't need much, because all it's going to do is hold it in. I mean, you want it to be glued real nice like, but it's not like you're going to be taking it off, and it's not like there's actually going to be force generated to try to pull it out. I actually have one friend that flew his I guess that was a vertical stabilizer, but he flew his, I think it was a 90mm or 80mm F-16, and actually forgot to put in the screw for the vertical stabilizer for the rudder, and flew it. And I don't think he was flying crazy, but flew it, did loops and some rolls and stuff, and it flew fine. And then on landing, he was coming in and it sucked out. So I didn't get to see it in person, but he told me that story, and so it's always helped remind me to make sure that I put screws in and glue them in real well. Probably can't see this because we're working behind the rudder from the camera, but I'm just putting a little drizzle. You don't need a whole lot because it's a nice dry fit. I like the nice, good, clean fit. And when it's a nice, clean fit, you don't need a lot of glue because it's going to ooze out around the edge anyway. I'm going to put accelerator on one side, CA on the other, and we're going to press it in. Make sure when you press this in that your little channel is lining up for your elevator, for the control surface, and you just want to hold it there for a little bit. And then I'm trying to pull them out, and it's already glued and dried. So that is one thing I like about CA. It is expensive, you pay for it for sure, but your time is worth something. So if you don't want to sit there and wait for it, or like today we're out here at the airfield and we want to fly it, then that's really nice. So now we're going to flip it over. Again, we're going to see if we can use the slots in this picnic table to hold our airplane upright. And you have to hook this one on. So the rudder, I believe, comes already hooked. I'm not positive on that one, unless I hooked it up by mistake and forgot. But your rudder probably already comes with your control rod hooked up. We're going to hook up the control rod for the elevator. You just pull this little rubber hose back, which is helping to secure. And we're going to put it on the middle section for right now. We can always adjust it later and then slide that back. And assembly is going pretty fast. I'll flip this around. Let's go ahead and get our wings over here. Again, dry fit your carbon spar, your carbon wing rod. Make sure that it's fitting in there properly. It's pretty firm, but I'd rather have it firm than loose. Okay. Wow. That's a really tight fit. Nothing wrong with that. I don't know. I might take the wing off of this on occasion. So it might be nice if it wasn't as tight. But like I said, I'd rather have it tighter than looser. Is that a word, looser? So, all right, once you have it in about halfway to the halfway point, you're going to get it started on the other side. I know we have these switched around backwards, but that's just how I want to hold it to get it started. And then we're going to flip it around. We're going to make sure our wires, so you can let it hang down so your wires are not going to be caught in the joint. This one is really stiff, but there we go. Make sure your wires are not caught in that joint, because you want the wings to be able to sit without any gap, or without much of a gap at all. Because what goes on and holds the wing on is this wing saddle. So this is pretty self-explanatory. I don't think that you can really get it backwards. I mean, you kind of could, but if you look at the profile of the wing, you'll be able to see, I think, pretty easily that there's only one way that it goes, front to front and back to back. There's some sirens in the background. Hopefully everyone is okay, or will be okay soon. I don't believe that it matters on which aileron you hook up to which one, because that's just going to be a Y-splitter. Now, I might be getting into a future modification. I don't want to spill the beans too much, but if you do want to program and set it up with individual, like to set up flaperons, and I'm not sure that this maybe comes with flaperons. I can't remember how this is configured on the newer ones, so maybe I'm speaking a little out of context. But it should not matter. They're not marked, and so usually when they're not marked, it doesn't matter which aileron plug goes in which one. So trying to see if there's any good way to tuck these wires in without in a way that makes sure where I can kind of have a little peace of mind that it's not going to get caught up in the servos. You'll see that the servos are just right there, and they're in a little bracket, a little mounting bracket, which is cool, but I usually don't like the wires just laying in there where they could get in the way of those servos, but I guess that's the way it is. Okay, there's sitting nice and flat, and we're going to open up our screws. We're going to spill them out. Oops, there goes our bag in the wind. We'll pick it up here in a minute. Let's see, I think one of these screwdrivers will work. These are both pretty fine tip screwdrivers, and it'd be nice to have one that's not super fine tip. This fatty actually fits pretty well. It's not a fine tip screw. So when you're using a screw that's a fat tip screw and you're using a fine tip screwdriver, it's real easy to strip it out. But basically you can just drop them in there, one on each side, or one in each little tube. This has always been a really fun plane. I've had a lot of fun with this. Got a lot of cool ideas for this, which is one reason why I picked up another one. I had been missing it, but had some ideas for modification, and I was like, hey, you know what? Conscendo is a really cool plane. We can make it a little bit better, a little more enjoyable. There it is, starting to strip. So these don't need to be super tight, but you do want to make sure that they're holding your wing on good. There we go. And this Conscendo, it has a little push button here, is how you get your canopy off to look in and see your battery leads and everything. This Conscendo, I believe, has an AR637T in it. I'll go ahead and unscrew it and show you, because we might need to do that anyway to bind it, because I don't think it has... Oh, it does have a bind plug up front. So whenever you see this little plug, and especially it will be tagged, it says AS3X only. It says the bind lead AS3X only or safe only, and we'll go through the process of how to bind it if you want it to have safe, and then we'll assign it to a switch. Maybe show you a little bit how to do that. But if it has a servo lead coming up to the battery bay, more than likely that is where you plug your bind plug in. It's just a servo, or it's just a, but yeah, it's a servo extension, but the purpose is for the bind plug, so it's a bind plug extension in this case. So we'll leave that off there. I wanted to show you real quick the receiver that's in here, because This is a really nice receiver. I believe it's the AR637TA. The A version is usually what comes in their bind and fly models, and if you were to buy this directly, just by itself or separately, it would be the AR630T or AR637T. So yeah, there it is. I mean, it's packed in there. It's really tightly packed in there. But AR637TA, I have that same receiver in my 3-meter Fox glider, my FMS 3-meter Fox. Just wanted to check and make sure all the plugs are plugged in, and they look like they're all plugged in really nice. But that's, if you buy that receiver separately, it's like $114, or at least it used to be, I think, the last time I purchased one, which has been a little while, so maybe the price has gone up. But for a $114 receiver, and maybe the price has gone up, let's just say $120 receiver, whatever they are, and then you get the whole plane for, what is it, $229, and that's, I mean, I think that's pretty impressive. So I'm pretty happy about that. I feel like that's a good budget. I think the plane by itself, if you buy the plane plug and play, I want to think it's like, is it $199? So it's only like another $30 to purchase the version with the receiver in it. And of course they do that because they want the receiver to be cheaper to purchase at the time of the airplane, and purchase it together with it. I think it's twofold. It's to help you get it in the air sooner, but then also it's a big selling point. It's sort of like the smart packs and the smart batteries, and makes you have to buy the smart chargers, and if you want the telemetry, then you have to have the smart ESC and all of that stuff. So it's kind of like one person described it as the ecosystem. You're investing in the ecosystem of Spectrum, and in this case, they want you to get hooked up with the receiver, so then you'll buy the radio and you'll be all fixed up in radio. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Didn't mean it to sound that way, but I thought that's interesting. So I like the fact that it comes with a receiver, and that particular receiver, which you can set up Vario, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but that's your altitude, and it has the GPS in it, I believe, to be able to monitor your flight speed and all that kind of stuff, which probably won't get into today. But anyway, there it is. It's that simple. So basically all the assembly consists of is gluing in your horizontal stabilizer, screwing on your main wing, and then of course we're going to set up the receiver. So let's get our radio back into view. You won't be able to see this part. You have to take my word for it, but I do already have a profile set up, and it's actually set up from my past Conscendo Evo that I had. So I had one before. You've seen the videos, the flight videos of it, and I still have the profile in there. So we are going to need a bind plug. Let me grab a bind plug real quick, and I'll be right back on camera. I keep my hobby box fairly close in case I need something, because 9 times out of 10 I am going to need something. I'm going to put it this way. I want you guys to be able to see everything that's going on. I'm trying to see how I can show this to you without being in the way. You don't really want to be in the way of that propeller when you're binding it up. So it's nice to be able to have somebody to hold on to the airplane, or to have it in a flight stand. Normally we would be out there on a flight stand, but a little hard to have a way to set up the camera. Filming Lone Ranger today, so this is how we have to do it. Okay, where's our batteries? Here we are. Let's start off with the 3S, and we're going to turn our controller off. It's going to be the easier way to do it for now. So if you want safe to be able to be activated and put it on a switch, you're going to bind it in safe mode, and then you're going to assign safe to a switch. If you don't want to use safe and you want to use AS3X only, then you're going to bind it not in safe, and then it won't be able to be turned on. So I prefer to have safe as an option, especially if somebody comes along and wants to fly my plane, or sometimes I like to just kick back and relax and put it in safe mode. It's sort of like altitude hold or cruise control. So we're going to bind it in safe and then assign it to a switch. So again, we're going to try to keep it as level as we can in this process. I'm having it set here to where the propeller is out over the edge of the table, so if it does kick on, I have a hold of it, and I'll be able to have a hold of the wing, and then also the propeller can spin. It's not going to damage the table or me or the propeller. So we plug the bind plug in. We're going to plug it in, plug the battery in, and then we're going to remove the bind plug. We're going to hold the airplane upright and fairly level as we can. And then we're going to, in this case, this is one of the shortcuts to binding. You can hold your bind button down while you turn your radio on if it's already set to that profile, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to let up on the power button, holding the bind button down. DSMX 22 milliseconds telemetry. There we go, and it should be set. You hear the double dance, and the double dance is when all the control surfaces jerk twice. They go through the sequence twice. That means safe is set up and activated. Right and left aileron, those are correct. Elevator up and down is correct. Rudder right and left is correct. And now let's check our throttle. Leave it out over the edge of the table a little bit. And the brake is already set up. See if my throttle cut still works from the other profile. Yep, that works correctly as well. See if we have telemetry on here. Yep, we have our telemetry. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but we have the telemetry is working on the screen, so that's pretty nice. Let's see, I want to make sure safe was on a switch, so we're going to test it here in just a moment, make sure safe is oriented correctly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push the ailerons. My rates are already set up from the other profile. Doesn't sound like it's set up on a switch. So let's go ahead and put the battery inside here and get it strapped in. It's just a real bad habit to flop a battery in there and not strap it in every time. Just because sometimes you'll be working on it and then the next thing you know, you turn around and you are ready to fly it and you forgot to strap it in. So we're going to just set it down in there for now. We're going to strap it in just because that's a good habit, and we'll probably fly it here in just a few moments. Let's see. Straps are not really going to let us go tight enough. We can't adjust it, so let's just cross them over like that. Okay, where's our canopy at? Well, let's just juice it up here. We don't need the canopy on. I'm going to set it till it does the double dance, till the gyro is calibrated. There we go. And there it is again. I'm going to test safe. And then when we roll it upside down, you'll see that the ailerons are trying to correct. So it's not set up on a switch. So what we're going to do is go ahead and set that up on a switch. I don't know if I'll be able to show you this process. It should be pretty quickly here. Let's see, forward programming, gyro settings, safe select. Let's put it on our gear switch and then go back. Okay, so now it should be set up on our gear switch, which is usually your switch A, I believe. That's what it generally is. Different people set up gear on different switches. So let's flip it upside down again. You see our ailerons are trying to self-correct, trying to make it go right side up. And then when we flip our gear switch, it stops trying to self-right. So that's how we know we have it set up correctly. Let's center out our, I think we need a little bit of trim here. And our elevator is correct. Ailerons are correct. Rudder, let's see, is our rudder trimmed out? I'm going to trim it a little bit to the right. Now let's check our elevator. I don't think you need any up trim on the elevator. Okay, very nice. Okay, so there you have it. That wasn't too bad. Pretty painless process. And you just have to glue the horizontal stabilizer on, put the wing screws in, and bind it up to your radio. So there you have it, is the assembly process and configuration process. If you need help on setting up safe in your radio, I can make a video on that. I don't have one, but we'll probably do that in a different environment. It's a little hard to see the radio screen when you're out here in the direct sunlight. But anyway, here it is, the E-flite Conscendo Evo 1.5m. And now let's go give it a maiden flight.